Fresh from the showcase here at SwissWatchExpo, today we've got a crazy Zenith with a crazy dial and a crazy case too. Zenith is known for making some really fun watches. Now, they're mostly known for their chronographs, the El Primero, which some Rolex fans might know as one of the older movements that they used in the Daytona. And that would definitely make you, lead you to believe that they make classic looking sports watches and movements for them. But for watches actually designed by Zenith, the brand, especially modern ones, they are anything but classic. They make some of the coolest, craziest, and most contemporary looking designs in the fine Swiss watchmaking. And this incredible Defy is one of the most interesting ones I've seen before. Now, this is not a chronograph. The Defy is simply a time and date. This is a titanium version of it with a fully skeletonized dial. Skeleton dials, I am a little bit of a mixed feeling on because they're not super practical. They're not super easy to read, but if you love the mechanics of the watch and really being able to look into the movement every time you look at the watch, it's a great feature. This, I think, is aesthetically one of the most pleasing looking ones I've ever seen. It is pretty balanced in terms of its design. I don't know how conscious the movement was when it was being constructed, if it was meant for the aesthetics of looking at it. A lot of them aren't from other companies. So I do really love the way that this dial looks. And something else that makes this a really unique watch as far as the skeleton dials do is it's a 41 millimeter non-chronograph, pretty slim case profile, and only 41 millimeters in diameter. This is pretty slim. Some exhibition caseback or exhibition dial or skeleton dial watches from other brands, including Zenith, can be just absolutely massive. And if you're like me and you don't like the massive sport watches, it's really hard to find you a good skeletonized dial that still looks somewhat reasonable on the wrist without being too gaudy. This is a great example of it. Pretty thin profile, beautiful looking movement here. And I also do love, this does have sort of a preview date window, but I do love the date here at 6 o'clock. You do have a white background over the date that's being highlighted. So while a lot of skeleton dial watches can be pretty hard to read, I do love that this one here does very clearly expose the date here. And again, with the bright lume that you get around the edge here of the markers and with the hands itself, I do think this is one of the more legible skeleton dial watches you could find out there. So you actually will not have a trouble or need to squint looking at the time at this piece when it's on your wrist. That's something I really love, and I think it also is helped by the fact that this is not a chronograph. Another really interesting thing about the case, not only is it very slim for a skeleton dial watch, but also does actually have lugs, although you might not think of it by looking at it. This does have a pretty large end link, which is titanium, much like the rest of the case. But it is almost completely flush with the lugs here, so that does give it a really unique look. Almost looks like you have a bar going across the top as opposed to lugs, which would be more traditional, longer, straight lugs that you might find on a sports watch. Another thing that's really interesting about this case is one of the things I do not like about titanium is if you do like a little bit of shine to it, titanium is almost exclusively a very matted sort of rugged type of color. This, you actually do have high polish finishes on some of these edges here on the case side and on the side of the bezel here. It's very difficult to do in titanium, and this looks absolutely beautiful. So if you like the lightweightness and the durability of titanium, but maybe the matte finish and the super rugged military type of look is not for you, then this is a great example because I can't think of very many pieces where you get that kind of shine on a titanium finish. On the back, of course, you wouldn't have a skeleton dial like this without also having an exhibition case back. This does have the sort of Zenith star. I've seen that associated with the El Primero, but since this is a Defy, I'm going to assume that this is more of a trademark for Zenith, the brand itself. Again, you do have two rubber straps with this one. We don't have the other rubber strap in the video right now, but you get two super sporty rubber straps. The other one a bit more racing inspired. This one definitely more of a dive type of rubber strap. So that's great because you're looking for a super clean sport watch that also does have that skeleton dial. This is it. This is a really one-of-a-kind watch. I can't think of another piece that I think I've ever had in the inventory that checks all the same boxes of this, of being a titanium watch with a little bit of shine to it and a high polish finish, with such a legible and symmetrical skeleton dial too, as well as having the rubber strap there. This is a combination I've not seen elsewhere, and I put my hands on a lot of watches, guys. So if this is for you, do not sleep on it, because I know this is a pretty obscure design, but there's really nothing else like it out there. And I can say that not just for this piece, but a lot of others we've got in stock. It's not just the basics. We got a lot of really rare, really unique pieces. So like and subscribe to this channel if you have not yet, so you can see all the crazy stuff that comes in here as it comes in here. And of course, give us a call and shoot us an email if you've got any questions about purchasing your next timepiece at SwissWatchExpo.com.